Hi guys, in the previous video, part 21, I introduced the graphical installer, and you can see it here, part 21. I'd like to show sort of further capabilities of the installer. Right back in part 3, I showed how the EasyOS drive image file can be written to a USB stick using the EasyDD utility. And there are other applications that will do the same thing. Now that is writing the drive image file to the entire drive. Now the graphical installer can do the same thing. So what I'll do is I'll get rid of this, and then we'll run the graphical installer. I'll run it from the menu this time, set up EasyOS installer, and here we go. Now in the previous video I showed this one here, this frugal mode of installation, where we're installing EasyOS to an existing drive, so it will install alongside whatever is already on there. Okay, but this first one here, this will install EasyOS to the entire drive and wipe everything that was there before. So that's basically doing the same as what EasyDD does, except that it's on steroids. It's got like extra things that you can choose that EasyDD does not do. For example, you can choose a MBR or GPT partition table, and if you don't know what those are, well, you could probably just read up on those. An older computer, sort of pre-2012 Windows computer, choose MBR to be safe. Fat partition, that depends on your experience, just accept the default if you're not sure. Swap partition, if your computer has 2 GB of RAM only, then definitely you need a swap partition. 4 GB of RAM, yeah, maybe. More RAM in your computer and the swap partition becomes less necessary, and in fact you don't need it. It has a downside because the operating system will be using the swap partition just to back up, as a sort of to store information. It may tend to hammer your flash memory if you're using an SSD. So it has a downside in terms of being a bit hard on your SSD. If you've got a magnetic platter type HDD drive, it doesn't matter. So anyway, just choose, if you put 0 in here, then there'll be no swap partition. Now, before we surge in, we've got to be a bit careful here. We've got to choose which drive we're going to install to. And I've got my little XR plugged in here, it's this one. I used this in the previous video. So we're going to reuse this, and we're going to pretend that it's an internal drive again. So we've got to make sure we choose that and not wipe my main drive. Here we go, USB, SDA. So that's this one down here, okay, little XR drive. And we're all ready to go. So let's do the install. So we're installing to the right, double check that we are not overwriting the main drive. Yes, and ready to go. Now we'll do a sanity check. Okay, here's our sanity check. Drive name SDA. We're going to create an MBR partition, 256 megabyte boot partition, and a 2 GB swap partition. Okay, let's just enter. Sanity check. So making sure you know what you're doing here. SDA. Yep. Okay. Right. Now it goes ahead and does a whole lot of things. What it's doing here is wiping everything on the drive. Okay. And you can watch all of that. Firstly, it's creating the boot partition. Here we go. Here's the boot partition being created here. And a bit further down, here it's creating the main working partition, the ext4 file system partition. And it's also down here creating a swap partition. There we go, there's the swap partition. And then further down, it's populating. So here it's where it's copying all of EasyOS onto those new partitions. Well, into the working partition really, and it's installing the Limine bootloader into the boot partition. So pretty much what you get with EasyDD, except you don't need the drive image file because it's just using the same easy.sfs, the Remember those files, vm-linux and init.rd. It's just copying those from the current installation that we're running right now. So if I'm running on a USB stick right now, and we're installing to the internal drive, then it's just getting those current files out of our currently running EasyOS and putting them into the new installation. So you don't need to download the drive image file especially. Okay, it takes a little while. We have to be patient, and I have to keep talking. Of course, I could edit the file and cut little bits out. That's something I have not yet got into. So it's copying those 3 files, and the problem is that Lexar flash drive is very slow compared with the ones that I usually use. So yeah, we're having to tolerate very, very slow write speed. It was only about like 8, I think we got 8 megabytes per second before, whereas my SSD is like well over 300. So the difference is enormous. Even my SanDisk flash drive, the extreme version, is over 100 or about 150 megabytes per second. So the difference is very noticeable. Okay. Anyway, the end result will be that you will have the files copied into this drive and occupying the whole drive, and then it'll all be set up. It will have installed the bootloader as well, and all you'll need to do then is just reboot. Now, it may or may not have set up LimeIron as the default. It depends. It may have done, depending on your computer. If it hasn't, then you just have to push a hotkey when you're booting up and go into the BIOS or UEFI setup and just choose the LimeIron bootloader as the default. So if you've got Windows on the computer, there should be like a choice. It will have either Windows or LimeIron. And you can set LimeIron then as the default from then on. Now what it's doing, as you saw in the last video, same thing again. LimeIron has done a search for existing operating systems on this computer. So you can have those in the LimeIron menu at boot up. There's no Windows on this laptop. So there's only older versions of EasyOS that I've got installed. So we'll generate the menu for those. There could be Puppy Linux or Ubuntu or anything that's installed on the computer, and that LimeIron installer will have found them and will offer them in those list of checkboxes. Clone. I'll decline the clone this time. I showed it last time. So any key. Hi guys. I have just used the shortcut video editor to join 2 clips together. I did try OpenShot. Hold on, I'll show you here. And I reported some issues with it. So I moved on to Shotcut, which is a bit of a more sophisticated video editor. And so far it's looking very good. I did have a brief look at KDE Live, and it looked very complicated. So I only looked at that for about 5 minutes, and Shotcut looks good though. Now I cut off the first video. I truncated it because I was rambling on towards the end, and it showed enough. The point is that everything has been written to that drive, the entire drive, and all you have to do is reboot, and you're running it, and it should default to that installation of LimeIron. Normally it would. Sometimes you've got to push the hotkey to go into the BIOS or the UEFI setup and just select what you want to be the default. Okay, that's enough. That's all I wanted to do, just show you that I can join 2 clips together, and I'm actually starting to use a video editor. Okay.